Yesterday, California state regulators unanimously approved new water use restrictions aimed at residents. The crackdown on consumption comes 4 years into the state's historic drought, and after a slew of genuinely terrifying headlines, one noting that California has about 1 year of water left, another that water-strapped California is all out of snow. Today, NOAA announced the planet just has officially had its warmest winter since they started recording temperatures. This winter was California's warmest, too, by a long shot. And the snowpack that usually provides the state with 30% of its water is at its second lowest level in recorded history. You can see in a year-by-year comparison how the drought has enveloped the state. March of 2011, just 2 parts of the state were abnormally dry. 2 years later, much of the state was experiencing severe drought. And now, huge swaths of the nation's largest state that grows most of our food are in exceptional drought, the most extreme category according to the National Drought Mitigation Center. Needless to say, it's a dire situation. The state's most recent answer, trying to put some limits on water consumption.
Lawn sprinklers will be able to come on only a limited number of days each week. Local water agencies will either have to limit outdoor watering to 2 days a week or establish their own local limit. That could be technically as many days as they want. Other new rules will ban all outdoor watering for 48 hours after measurable rainfall. Restaurants will only offer drinking water upon request, and hotels will only change sheets and towels upon request.
I should note they grow a lot of our food, not most of it. Right now, the state of California is where New York was after Superstorm Sandy, or Texas after the 2011 wildfires. They're not just talking about the effects of changing climate patterns, they are living them. I spoke with California's Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom and asked him if these new regulations go far enough.
Yeah, it's small ball, unquestionably. Look, 2 things happened yesterday. We extended the existing emergency provisions for another 270 days, and we added a few additional things to the extent those critics, I think, are right and accurate by denying people the ability to have water when they sit down in a restaurant. Automatically, they have to ask, and requiring now hoteliers to encourage guests that are staying multiple nights to ask for whether or not they want their towels washed and their linens washed. So it's relatively small ball. The bottom line is we can sit here and we can pray for more rain. That's an immediate solution, but we're not able to legislate it. That's not necessarily going to work. We're going to talk about conservation, which we must, and efficiency, which we must, but I think we're going to have to move towards mandatory rationing. We have a voluntary rationing that's been out for a year. It's just simply inadequate to the moment, just 10% or so reduction from the 20% the governor was hoping for.
Okay, you just said a phrase that I have never heard a politician with any ambitions ever say, which is the phrase mandatory rationing, which is essentially anathema in American political vocabulary. You're someone who's going to run for governor. This is you want to govern this state. You want to have a future statewide, and you're going to run around telling people that you got to do mandatory rationing?
Well, you know, my frustration is this is serious. This is code red. This is the 4th year of drought. We went through 3 years, the hottest in recorded history. Last year, literally the hottest ever in recorded history in California. I'm sitting here behind me. You see the skyline of San Francisco. It wasn't a drop of rain in the entire month of January. It's close to 100 degrees down in the southern part of the state this last weekend. This is serious, and we can play small ball. We can deny restaurateurs again from pouring a glass of water. We can call for voluntary rationing because that polls better, or we can lead. And I guess at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, are we just stewards, or are we going to step up and step in and actually share our private thoughts? Trust me, private thoughts are ample around a requirement for some mandatory reductions, or we can continue to play the finger in the wind politics that, frankly, has put us in this crisis in the first place. It's both Mother Nature and a man-made crisis because we haven't taken it seriously enough over the last few decades.
So you've got 2 things here, right? As you just noted, there's the fact that water rights have always been complicated. Water is a scarce resource, particularly in Southern California. You know, LA shouldn't exist, but for the fact that, as we know from Chinatown and lots of other stuff, right? Yeah. You have water there that is very hard to get and has to be rationed. And now we're on the front edge of a climate crisis. I mean, as you think about running to be governor of a state, this is not a temporary situation, right? No. You got to think this is the next into the foreseeable future, and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, it's the new normal, and compound that with a growing population and an inadequate infrastructure that was built for a world that no longer exists a half-century ago. Now, a couple good things have happened. We passed a $7.5 billion bond that includes some wildlife restoration, or rather some restoration efforts related to some environmental protections that relate to storage and conveyance. Those are important things, but those are medium and long-term solutions. We finally passed some groundwater legislation to finally do what almost every other Western state had been doing for years and years, and that's have some regulation, some oversight of groundwater. But the reality is, in the immediate, we've got an immediate challenge, and we can't play in the margins. We've got to be honest with people about this. And, again, the public's doing a good job. We did see a reduction of about 9.7% in our water consumption. But I'll tell you, if I were mayor of San Francisco still, I would have already, having run a water system as mayor, required that mandatory. And I think it's inevitable that it's going to be required. And I think the state did the unprecedented yesterday by dictating to local authorities what they should be doing as a floor, not a ceiling. And I'm hopeful now that the local agencies will take it to the next level with that mandatory consideration.
Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom, we're going to try to come out to California, do a week of shows out there later this year. Hopefully we can talk about this more.
This is the issue of our time out here in the West, so we'd be grateful and love to see you out here.